Okay, now, it's time to make the damaging mechanics for our player when the enemy attacks us. And obviously, we don't have any kind of player health mechanics and player health system just yet. But what we can do so far, we can detect the collision when the enemy attacks our player. And then when we will have the player health system, we'll add that player health to that mechanic. Now to detect the collision when our enemy attacks, and to detect the attacking, what we need to do, we need to create few things. You remember with our rifle, we created the fire point, which is fire position. Position from where we are firing the bullets. And we should do similar thing with the enemy. We will have some point. And this will be our enemy's attacking point. And also it will have some range. And that range will check the collision with the player. Because the player has the collider. He has character controller, which comes with a collider. That's the one point. So let's create empty game object in the enemy. Create empty and let's call this one attack point. And well, what I will do, I will just drag this attack points in front of the enemy. Little bit on the right side from we are enemies attacking just like the here. I will show you from all of the directions. So it's in front of the enemy basically. And this will be our attack point. And as I said, it will have some radios and I will show you radios. So you will see it with your eyes okay. Next thing will be to add some layer. To create some layer for the player, because we will need it in the script. So let's select player, let's go in the layers. Let's hit that layer and let's say player here. And well, we will assign our player layer to the playthrough. Game object. And yes, change children. We should click and that's pretty much it. Now we can create another C# script. I already created one, I called it enemy combat. You can call it same as me as well. And just make sure to assign the script to your enemy. So just drag and drop it in your enemy game object. And well, I have here already. And also, last thing will be to add some collider to the enemy. Because anyway, we will need to have collider for the enemy. So let's select enemy, let's heat add components. Let's go in physics and let's choose capsule collider. Well, this collider is very small. And half of it is in the ground. So we should adjust it. Well, we can adjust the positions from this X, Y, and Z. Let's drag Y little bit up. So that end of the collider should be at the feet of the enemy basically. Also, let's make height to be bigger. Just like these again, let's drag up. Just like these. Let's make red use to be a little bit bigger and yeah. I think it's alright and it will do job for now. And don't worry about it too much. Just try your best to match the size of the of your enemy and also make sure that at end of the collider is at the feet of the enemy. I think we can also take it a little bit up. Just like this, okay. Alright, now let's open our enemy combat script. Let's start working on it. Well, we will need few variables. We will need reference for the attack point. So public transform. Let's call this one attack point. Also, we will need float, public float for the radios. As I said, we will need some radios. Also, we will need to reference for the layers, which we created for the player layer. SO public layer mask. Now let's call this one player layer. Well, we don't need start. And in the update, we gonna use one method, which will help us to detect the collision from the attack points to the player. And this method is called physics.overlapSphere. Quite handy method, and in order this to work, it needs to have few parameters. First, it needs to know from where we are checking it, to what position we are having. Well, we want to check from the attack point, so we will say attack point dot position. Then it needs to know radio, so attack radios and layers. So come up layer. Okay. Also, since we will have lots of enemies in the game, what we will do, we will create a container to store information about them. And we will store information about their colliders. And also we will create array, which means that we'll have some list of enemies. And to create that, we will say collider. Then erase signs only sign. And let's call this one heat enemies. And it will be quality, so we are storing information about this detection in this container with a name of heat enemies. And now we can use loop. Well, there are lots of few loops in the C#. And we gonna use for each loop. For each loop needs few things in order to work well. First of all, we need to say collider. Then we will need one placeholder. For example, let's call this one enemy in. And we should say name of what we are checking. Well, we are checking hit enemies variable, so we will say hit enemies. So we are basically saying that check hit enemies, and just find all the enemies, enemy colliders, and well, we will do the player health and damaging mechanics here. After, we will have the player health system. But just to check if everything is working, let's use debug menu. So debug.log, and when our enemy hits the player, everything is working, we should get some message. For example, player is damaged. And just to usually see all of these radios and the sphere that we are making. What we can do after our update, we can use special method which is on draw gizmos. So let's say white on draw gizmos selected, and well, we should say here gizmos dots a draw wire sphere. And in the brackets, we should say from where to where. Draw our sphere. We want to draw from the attack points, dot position to the attack radius. And this will help us to visually see our sphere. And you will see right very shortly. So let's save the script. And let's go back. Well, we should select the enemy and let's scroll down. We should assign attack point. So let's drag attack point right here. I will assign player layer to be player. It's also very important. And now when we change attack radio, so let's say when you will see these white sphere. This is basically the radius of the detection. And it's quite large right now, so I will make 0.5 to have small range. And well, we can always change this size of this sphere. But the main point is that we have this sphere, which can detect the collision with the player. So let's check I will open the console wheel, and let's see if we are getting we are getting the information about the distance. So I will go in the enemy controller. And here we have the debug.look distance. We don't need it anymore, so I will just comment it out. So it will be not called anymore. It will be just like comments, and now let's check. Let's go in console, and yeah. When the enemy is attacking us, we get this message that the player is damaged. Which is quite fine, We might work on it in the later stages as well. Make it a little bit more precise. But for now, everything is indeed working. And now we have Collider the enemy, so we can hit the bullets to it. Of course, nothing is really happening right now, but yeah, I'll end this video over here. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any new videos. See you in the next videos.